I really am enjoying Umineko. Apart from Umineko being, like, weirdly repetitive with some of its lines, like, it seems like it's kind of a masterpiece, a little bit. I'm not that far in. I'm only, like, midway through Chapter 2, okay? So no spoileronies. I mean it, I'll get real mad. Holy shit, it is wordy. It really makes me think, like, how many other visual novels and properties similar to it, like, you know, just any long-form story, how much better would it be if the writer was bold enough to just write more? Stop trying to craft a cute, quirky little one-off sentence that perfectly encapsulates the mood of the scene. Just describe it in a paragraph. Who cares if you're repeating yourself a little bit? You know, go ahead and describe the room fully. I feel like if you're a good writer, there's the potential to get a lot of good out of that. Not necessarily because you're being overly verbose, but because you're not anxiously leaving anything on the table. Umineko has done a good job capturing on maybe my main drive in life, the main thing I care about, which is getting taunted by beautiful, powerful women. I think it's doing a good job in that front.
Minthara or Yushiro Maya Eva? If you could only choose one.
Minthara. Minthara is smarter. Like, they're both fucking evil, but Minthara is smarter. Fuck, what was the point I was trying to make? I'm trying to gauge who has taste. That's fair, that's fair. Look, I keep in mind I have not even come close to finishing Umineko, whereas I have beaten Baldur's Gate 3 times. So, keep that in mind. Man, I love... Okay, I'm not gonna spoil, and I'm not inviting you to spoil. However, I love narratives about common willpower overcoming supernatural power. I really, really like it when the conventional is matched against the supernatural, and through force of will, the conventional wins. And I think, unfortunately, the most common place you see this in regular day-to-day media is with Batman. And I think Batman is usually really, really badly written. So I don't tend to like his stories. I think that nobody lets Batman make mistakes. I think they just let him aura farm. They make other people stupid so that he can be smart and, like, get the point right. I wish...
She yees on my yee till I yee yee.
True. Unfortunately, like, stories about overwhelming willpower just don't work as well when you're dealing with a legacy character of, like, 80 years. Right? Like, I just don't care as much. I'm not going to get as invested in a gripping tale of a person's battle against overwhelming odds if this is issue number 473 of one of an, you know, infinite number of series or whatever. I just don't care as much. The stakes for Hiroshima Battler are much more real. I have no idea what's going to happen with him. Do you like fantasy versus technology based on your rant? Are you on the side of technology? No, that's not a distillation of what I'm talking about. It's one of the reasons I really like the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. Because if you think about it from that perspective, the story is basically about all of the supernatural stuff in the world getting destroyed. It's about, like, human empires, human gunpowder, human ships overtaking the supernatural. And I like that narratively quite a bit. I like the fact that Jack Sparrow, like, dances on the line between the two. Nosferatu explores some similar themes. I agree. You'd enjoy Pathfinder 2e, barbarians can just cut fireballs in half. You're not understanding me. That's still fantasy bullshit. A fighter or a barbarian or a warrior or whatever in D&D is still supernatural. What I'm talking about is something that is definitively conventional, overcoming the supernatural. Like a SWAT team beating a ghost. Or in Battler's case, like inhuman stubbornness and willpower beating a witch, you know? You should listen to the section after Chapter 7. I cannot say why. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it anymore, because eventually somebody's going to say something that spoils. Chapter 7? I didn't even know there were that many chapters. Jesus. Ah! So you're saying Jack Sparrow is a mage with a gun? No, that is not what I'm saying at all.
I want stories like what you talked with Chad about a year or two back about humanity reaching a point where their technology could kill gods.
Well, okay, I don't remember what exactly I said back then. I feel like stuff like that is pretty common, especially in shit like JRPGs. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, I did once write fan fiction about a SWAT team going into Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, sorry, going into Freddy Fazbear's. They wouldn't go into the game. They would go into the location in the game. You what? Listen, they're ghost, possessed animatronics. Don't you want to know? Aren't you curious whether or not a SWAT team could beat them? Don't you want to know? Like 2019, 2016. This was like ages ago. I have no idea when it was. Link? It doesn't exist anymore. Man, this was ages ago. I have no idea. Yeah, don't you want to aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of being fucking nice? Don't you want to know whether or not a SWAT team could defeat the Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics? Didn't they get stunned by a taser in the FNAF movie? Yeah, and I think you could make a decent argument that it's a shit movie. Yeah, the Five Nights at Freddy movie is ass. But I think that a taser could stop one of them for a bit. I think it's just my interest in making the unknowable knowable, you know? Opinion on Lex v Superman? You mean like in general or in the most recent movie? I mean, in regards to Lex v Superman, I think, what do you think about their rivalry in comparison to your like of Human Will? Oh, yeah, I mean, I do like it, and I think that when it's done well, it's done really well. I just think that oftentimes, unfortunately, and this is just usually the case with comic writing, it's one of the reasons I'm liking Umineko, it's impossible to take Willpower as a force seriously because everything feels like a cheap cartoon trick. Like, if a story is really well written, I would consider cutting your own arm off to escape a trap to get back at the person who laid that trap to be superhuman willpower. Like, I think that the drive that it takes to do that, the ability, like if you imagine you get your arm caught in like a bear trap and you know somebody set it and they're out there and you want to get them, like to saw off your arm or something, shoot it off, you have a shotgun, whatever. I would consider that superhuman will. I'd consider it Kino. I would consider it goated. I would consider it sauceful, you know? But the problem is that in comic book writing, everything is taken to such comical extremes all the time with very little like emotional buildup or payoff. It doesn't feel like earned pretty often. Like, I'll give you an example, okay? Red Sun, perfect example of Superman versus Lex Luthor in that dynamic, right? Perfect example of that relationship, you know? But Lex Luthor's intelligence and willpower are just comic book comedy. He's a 14th level intelligence. He could talk Superman into a suicide in just 7 minutes. Actually, if he controls every dollar in the economy would be perfect because he's that smart. It's not human anymore. Now he's just another superhuman. All those are real things in the comic, by the way. None of that was made up. It's just literally just another superhuman thing anymore. You're introduced to Lex Luthor and he's playing and winning chess games against like 20 people at once. It's like, I get it, okay? I get it. It's one of the reasons I also don't like All-Star Superman that much, you know? It just really takes away the pathos for the extraordinary feats of these characters to be reduced to comic book antics in that way. There's no emotional stakes. It just doesn't feel real to me. It's the same with Batman. It's always like that with Batman, man. How often do you see Batman really struggle? Yes, I've seen the comics. I know what Batman struggling looks like, okay? Tibetan monk this, superhuman willpower that. There's no struggle, there's no trade-off, there's no great sacrifice or... Because there can't be a sacrifice, not a real one, because it's a comic, you know? I mean, you have one-off graphic novels or whatever, but... DC does treat their heroes like gods, even the human ones, yeah. Sherlock, BBC is the worst example of this. Surely he would have a BWC, but no, I agree. Yeah, sure. In BBC's Sherlock, they can't think of a way to make him smart in a human way that's engaging, so they just make him like a cartoon super genius whenever it's convenient, and a fucking idiot when it's not. You should watch Gate. Gate is really ass. I'm sorry. I'm sure you recommend it because you like it. But I need you to know Gate is poop from a butt. Gate is like Japanese military propaganda with like a fucking cardboard box with a smiley face drawn around it. Gate is for lolicons? Okay, oh. I only saw one episode of Gate. I don't know that much about it. It didn't take me long to get a feel for what the anime was gonna be like. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about when I say, like, you kind of ruin the charm of superhuman willpower being a feature when it's done in a comic booky kind of way? Can somebody think of an example that isn't from whatever the visual novel I'm currently watching is called, where that happens? What's an example of a character who's like in a very well done way, very persistently dedicated and willful in a way that's like almost hard to watch. Oh, Guts! 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 Why am I talking? Why am I thinking? Guts! Guts! I said Guts earlier, you fool. Yeah, that's why I remembered. Giorno Giovanna. See, I like JoJo, but pretty much every JoJo character is superhumanly willful. Like, every single hero and villain at some point will have half their face dangling off, and they'll be like, you! And then they'll do some, like, final attack that is, like, the ultimate expression of the spiritual manifestation of their will, you know? And I'm not against that, but you don't feel like it's real, right? Like, I'm not reading that thinking, oh my god, there's no way that, you know, Joseph Joestar is going to have the willpower to do something like that. Like, no, I know he will, because it's JoJo, right? Subaru from ReZero. There are some things about ReZero that I enjoyed, but by and large, I did not care for that show at all. JoJo's magical as fuck, right? Yeah, JoJo's magical as fuck. But I'm talking about willpower here. Like, a magical character can still be defined by will. For me, a big part of inhuman willpower being an endearing feature is that it has to be basically a flaw, in a sense, right? Like, Guts is incredibly self-sacrificial and destructive and reckless and suicidal, right? For one. Urashimiya Battler fuck, what's the name of the visual novel? Like, his stubbornness, which is his, like, overpowering feature, is also often framed as kind of childish and belligerent. Umineko, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it has to be... I think you can't always be focused on making your willpower character Orifarm, because that takes away from it. In reality, if you're pushing somebody to the brink, like, really to the brink, they should be impressive, even if they aren't coming across as cool at all. Even if they're like sobbing and the teeth gritted, they're desperate and they're crying out, and they're like barely holding it together, you know? Them overcoming that is the critical juxtaposition. And it's difficult to do that when you're obsessed with making your characters cool all the time, which is kind of what happens to Batman to a large extent. You guys don't have to suggest examples. It's fine. You don't have to. I have not read Worm, but it's been on the list for a billion years. Like, in my opinion, and you can say it's edgy or unnecessary or whatever, I think that basically all of the aura farming and all of the impressive shit that Guts does in Berserk is framed, contextualized, and neatly kind of set up by him being raped when he was a kid. I think that was an incredibly bold choice in, like, a grim action manga, you know? A grimdark action manga to be like, opening, fucking, let's go, you know? I think that looking at Guts from that perspective, and they don't shy away from it in the story at all. It's very obvious that Guts has trauma from it, you know? It was a super bold choice, and it makes him human in a way that no amount of, like, cool action scenes ever could have. It instantly, not to say that suffering is like the only way to humanize a person, because it's not just about suffering, right? It's about the totality of the emotional experiences that Guts has that allows his superhumanly heroic moments to stand out that much more. Are you caught up in Berserk's most recent chapters? No. Did you stop on Teardrop of Morning Dew? The last thing that I remember while reading Berserk is that, oh wait, fuck, I don't want to spoil. That's relatively recent. How do I not spoil that? I only read like 1 or 2 chapters after Miura died. Miura is not a character, friends. Miura was the mangaka.
Vaush, do you honestly think One Piece has stakes? No one dies. The amount of fake-out deaths is insane.
Stakes? No, not really. It's not really a high-stakes manga, right? I mean, it's pretty much just like a fun action romp. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's bad or like a failure of the story or anything. How cool would elastic powers be IRL? Probably be super useful, but you would need to have some kind of durability to go along with it, because otherwise being able to like stretch your hand out really far and then it gets like caught in a drawer. It does not take much to hurt a body, you know? Also, you would always look lame, like all the time when you use it, and that would suck.